Well, welcome to the Business Spotlight series. My name is Heather Frierson, and I'm your host of the Business Spotlight podcast. And today I have Michael Guinan, president of 360 Marketing and Events and 360 Ecom for Media. And today he's going to be sharing all about his business journey to business ownership, best practices, the challenges, and really just share a sneak peek of what it's like to own and operate a business. So if this is your first time to the channel, be sure to like and subscribe so that you get a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. Well, Michael, welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Well, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Well, we had the pleasure the other day of chatting just a little bit, and we're both or you came to the Texas area, but really you are in Connecticut. Is that right?
Correct. Still residing and have our offices in Connecticut, but these days we have quite a bit of travel across the country for various events that we do or our client events and consulting.
That's amazing. Well, why don't you just set the stage for our audience and share a little bit about your background and 360?
Certainly. As brief as possible, I spent a lot of years in marketing and advertising in various realms, whether it was print, quote unquote, back in the day, radio, television, um, digital e-com sites, sports marketing, sports television, and events and festivals.
That sounds like a fun career.
I do use that line quite a bit. No offense to any accountants out there. It's not accounting. I do say that, and while I was in my career in media, I opened up a restaurant at the same time, sort of a double duty there for a while in Hartford, Connecticut, and then one in Stanford. So always been have an entrepreneurial spirit. Did that in my early 20s as part of as my career was moving along between corporate companies before I jumped out on my own.
Wow. I know. I just with your background, radio, TV, all the things, and then a restaurant order or restaurant business, you're just really in a position, you're a people person, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know if I readily admit that, but it turns out that apparently
I would say so. I don't think you can do a lot of TV and radio without knowing how to carry a conversation. But what really got you into all of that in your early 20s? Tell us about your career path.
Yeah, so just coming out of college, I jumped into advertising sales, and it was for a university and their sports program. And from there, it became a city regional magazine for the region that expanded for a while. And from there, went into a radio career for a couple radio stations. And after radio, went into sports television advertising sales, working for Sports Channel America and working with Madison Square Garden and in Connecticut, it was the Hartford Whalers and Boston Celtics and Boston, etc. Um, Ended up jumping from there to Madison Square Garden itself when they came in and got the bid to take over a facility here, the Hartford Civic Center, and bring a hockey team. So became vice president, general sales manager for that entity. With the proximity of MSG, I was back and forth to New York all the time. Every week I was there in and out of meetings, and yet we were, running an operation here in Connecticut. And then in 2000, jumped out on my own. Went into that, again, had that restaurant already in place
Mm-hmm.
in our second location, and further jumped into that entrepreneurial spirit with my company. Well, I have a couple companies now, but 360 Marketing Events and 360 Ecom for Media. And once we jumped into that. Um, it was almost like the movie where they pulled me back in at like corporate called, and I was able to be creative where I was had an arrangement that I was able to keep my company going and open,
Mm-hmm.
and they knew it, but they it was great to be wanted, and I went back into advertising media, the Hartford Current Company, which is the Tribune company, advertising sales, became vice president, general sales manager. Did a stint overseeing the number one category of auto, and then from there went to cars.com. Ran the East Coast for
Okay.
cars.com for quite a bit, and then decided that I was ready to fully jump back out on my own. And of course, I made that decision 6 or 7 months right before COVID, which was great timing. Uh,
Yeah.
but we muddled through, got through it okay, thanks to some great clients and things that we were up to. And as soon as we came out of COVID, on the fringe of it, it was just, don't look back. And
Mm.
we've been blessed to have multitude event. We're probably in the 30s now of large scale festivals, along with a lot of
Wow.
other projects since then.
Wow. You bring up a really good point because out of all the things that were hit during COVID, events were hit hard. They shut down. And that's a huge challenge, obviously, when you own a company like that. How did you overcome that and start inching your way back to be where you are today?
Every business is unique, right? And
Hmm.
events certainly, to your point, has some of its own tentacles, if you will. And I won't forget, like 21 years ago, I established an event called the Sun Wine Fest at Mohegan Sun, which is one of the top largest casino resorts in the country. And I remember being on radio interviews that morning, and literally one year in particular, and the governor's on TV shutting down the state and the roads because of 27 inches of snow. And so you just can't make this stuff up. Some of the things you have to go
Yeah.
through, got a zillion of those types of stories. But COVID affected us all, and we got through it by being creative. We sort of jumped into, we had a lot of restaurant friends and clients, and we just got right into creative manufacturing of shields, for tables and bars and restaurants, and found a sort of a three-tier opportunity, sort of the cheap ones, if you will, and then a high end
Mm.
for someone that really still cared about their brand and wanted to make it look fitting in a sort of a nice restaurant, like fine dining, if you will. So we did all sorts of projects, a lot of consulting, through those days, and we're fortunate to have come out of it. And we were ready. It was sort of a lot of stop and goes for a while, as we probably all recall. Like it's okay, it's not okay, it's okay, and we were always ready at the at the gun there. And once we had started having green lights, we got creative. For instance, to your point, like, yeah, gathering of people is a problem. But, there was a certain point in one of our states that we do business on the West Coast, at our friends and our client, A Resort and
Mhm.
Casino. There became an opportunity for outdoor events, no more than 1,000. So we at a time. So we turned a parking structure. I think it was brand new and it's beautiful and pristine and LED lights and music in it
Wow.
and all that. But we ended up pulling one of the festivals and doing it on the first floor of this garage with higher ceilings. We piped and draped it like it was a convention center and in a
Yeah.
room, and put some astroturf down, and we really turned it into, with a free flow of air, turned it into
Hmm.
an event space. So
Wow.
you just got to be creative and be open to like any idea possible and listen to them all to sort of weed your way through that
Hmm.
process.
Wow. What makes you so passionate? Because I can hear it in your voice. You just get excited. You pop it all out. You know what you're doing. You know what the events are. What makes you so passionate about leading this organization?
Great question. There's an adage, right? Like, find something that you love or you're passionate about, and it'll lead to good things. You'll be successful,
Hmm.
whatever. And it just seems like I have continued to, maybe not even knowing it, but sort of be in and around sort of events and entertainment, right? Whether it was radio and television and sports and the facilities that we had events at, nonstop throughout the year. A restaurant, you're sort of it's events. You're sort of, it's
Mm.
Friday night, it's Saturday, et cetera. We was a sports related restaurant with a Hall of Fame coach now, Jim Calhoun from Ecom basketball. So it was
Okay.
sort of that theme, and really great run with that. And but you're every day's an event there, if not you're sort of making events within the
Hmm.
location. So I just sort of feel like, through that, I found the space of entertainment and events, one way or the other. And it seems to fuel a fire, I guess.
Hmm. Let's dive in a little bit into your team because you obviously can't do this alone. How do you find team members, cultivate a culture with them, and let's just start walking through that.
Yeah, certainly tougher these days, it seems, but
Mm.
thankfully, I've been blessed. Our company's had a good amount of our team has been around for, geez, one's like 25 years now. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, and another's over a decade, et cetera. So, you know, um, relationships is important, whether it's your team, your clients, and or the attendees that come to your event. And so I think that we've just been fortunate in sort of getting to know people through recommendations, obviously interview process and things like that, and certainly some projects, if you will. And then,
Hmm.
it's the best you can have is get it to a point, which I feel like I have now, is that, for those who are old enough that remember the TV show MASH with Radar Riley, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, I think we still joke about it, my team. It's like when you've got to that radar moment, it's like an orchestra, right? Like I don't have to finish a sentence. I can be extremely quick on a text that they can read right through between the lines and know what's going on. And I
Mm.
feel the same with them. So having a team is so critical. And
Yeah.
and the event business, back to, again, all different careers and jobs and companies have their uniqueness, but on the event business, sort of like entertainment, sports, it's not 9 to 5. And
Mm.
you have to be uh, cognizant of that and aware. And, if a celebrity chef has an issue at 3 a.m., we sort of monitor, we should make sure that our team is monitoring at all
Mm.
different times. We're on call, kind of, right?
Ow.
And if they have a certain leg issue in which requires crutches first thing in the morning, we're at Walmart at 4 a.m. or Walgreens, in line getting the crutches, having them to their room by 4:30, 4:45, and then they can get on with their day and then perform, just as an example. So
Wow.
I'm blessed that we have a team that sort of like our company 360, we're 360 in that thought process.
Yeah. How many team members do you have now?
We've got about 5 consistent
Hmm.
team members, and then with ebb and flow of events, we need to ramp up,
Right.
with independent contractors all the time.
Yeah.
But we have a pool that we've been using for years, and again, we're happy.
Yeah. So, as president of all of this, you obviously have your hands in a lot of pots. So, when you think about 360 and the longevity and the legacy um, that you're building and want to leave, what does that look like as far as training and developing team and bringing team members up to where maybe your hands aren't in the middle of it all?
Yeah, and we're definitely at that point. Again, like I said, sort of that I call it the radar effect, where we're in a great place at the moment, where and time is an asset that you need, right? And so
Mhm.
we've been operating pretty fast. So really great to have that situation where they know what to do. They have got plenty of autonomy. Um, and there's nothing better than I've got a couple old employees that are various levels over the years, and I just saw one on LinkedIn the other day. Just vice president of a big ad agency out of Boston, and I threw the congrats out. I mean, that just there's nothing more. It's like your baby, right? It's like nothing more
Yeah.
proud. You're so happy to see that cultivate, and heaven forbid it would be great too at some point, which happens. All of a sudden they call you and you have some business opportunity, which is awesome. I had a former assistant that worked her way up into marketing and with us, and then went on to like the Lego company.
Oh,
Uh,
wow.
Gave us a call, and we went into a big consulting contract for a while with them, and came up with the concept to do the Lego Kids Fest and travel nationwide. So you just never
How
know,
fun.
right? You never know, and,
Yeah.
and you're so proud of those moments uh,
Yeah.
that they can accomplish.
Yeah. Where do you see events and even yours long term? Because digital and all the things are changing so rapidly. Where do you see it, and what are some of the challenges that you can forecast?
Yeah, well, ever-changing landscape like every
Yeah.
business, right? And I've lived through so many where, managing up and managing a business down when it was in, the traditional media space. And so, I still think we're getting our footing based upon, the post-COVID years. But um, I will say that experiential events and like we talked in the beginning of this conversation, the connection with people, I don't think that's going away. I think
Mm-mm.
it will never stop probably growing digital aspects of that, right? But
Mhm.
people really lust for it. And, I just had an
Mhm.
event this past weekend with one of our chefs that we work with, Manit Chauhan, who's a dear and just an extremely talented chef, two-time tournament champion winner. And in those conversations that you have, whether it's the Q&A during the dinners or it's the meet and greet, it's it's frankly moving. It's incredible that the connections that occur, and what we're doing is bringing it to life, right? So if you think about it, if you're a foodie or food fan and you're watching Food Network or any of these shows, you're seeing it and you're hearing it and you're looking at it like, they did this, they did that, they
Yeah.
made this recipe, and like, oh, that looks great, and oh, that's what the judge said. You don't get to taste it. And so what we're really happy about is bringing that final component, that
Mm.
connection of actually now eating a dish or dishes from that chef, but also being able to ask a question in general or about their food. Um, and it's I mean, I can tell you some of the stories. It's just amazing, the connection. So when you asked about sort of our legacy, we want to continue to be a great event company in so many aspects, but
Hmm.
the amount of thank yous and people saying thank you for coming here to wherever the event is, whether it was in Oklahoma week
Yeah.
ago, this past weekend, or Washington State, or Rhode Island, or Connecticut, or whatever, when they're saying thank you from the sort of the bottom of their hearts, I mean, it sort of like makes you feel how great, like when a former employee becomes, really
Yeah.
successful. It's just a wonderful feeling.
Yeah. I love that so much. And I continued hearing your passion about it. And so I just maybe for our listeners and hearing just the longevity you've already had, what do you think has been one of the reasons that you've been able to overcome so many obstacles in your space, like COVID and different things that you've had to go through? What's the reason?
Well, I think passion is one, right? Resiliency. You can't give up, and you got to you got to keep at it.
Yeah.
We're, we're fortunate enough to, whether it's our own self events or our
Hmm.
clients who have, we've worked really hard to gain their respect and their trust. So, that's key, that they'll keep calling and saying, hey, a great event in the wine and food sector. Can you do a craft beer one? Yes. Hey, we have a lot of artisans in this region. Any thoughts? Sure. We can have a craft and craft show. So craft artisans with craft ales
Hmm.
and craft cocktails. And we'll call it a holiday craft fest, right? So creativity, hard work, passion, not letting them down, not letting yourself down, not letting your team
Yeah.
down. There's gonna always be hiccups, but you gotta, dust your pants off and get back up.
Yeah. I hear that so much. What would maybe 10 years down the road look like for you personally? When you think about family, when you think about business, if you could project where you'd be in 10 years, what would that look like?
A huge raise because I think I'll be done with college payments of three at the moment. So
Oh
I,
my
I,
goodness,
I'm looking
three.
forward to that day personally with family and enjoying their next chapters in their life. Um, but in all seriousness, yeah, I mean, I think we have this ecom business too, where we also grow, where we're doing direct to garment printing, with some folks like YouTube and TikTok, et cetera. And so we love that business as well, where we're getting creative with providing merchandise. Um, and on the event, and it goes with events too. And on the event space, um, we're growing in aspects of, for instance, this summer we're going to have our first event in a baseball stadium at the Hartford Yard Goats at Duncan
Oh,
Park
wow.
in Hartford. So we're really excited about that. A taco tequila and tap, so beer and taco tequila and beer festival,
Hmm.
and music. And we're going back to Nashville again after we've done two events back to back the last 2 years in Nashville. So I feel like we have a portfolio of culinary shows. We'll probably diversify a little bit out of culinary, but where the culinary shows and beverage shows are really, really strong, and we're hoping to have sort of we've been so blessed to pick up the Choctaw Nation in Oklahoma, and we're now in talks with all four of their properties. We've produced two events for two so far, and so. I think we just want to keep our nose to the grind on these very successful events that not only for us but the clients themselves get for 2 to 12,000 people attending. They're getting
Hmm.
new customers every time to their facilities and their buildings and their entities and so forth. So we're doing a lot in listening to what their needs are and coming up with those
Mm.
entertainment options to draw and then have those customers become valued, repeat customers. So I think we're just going to
Yeah.
continue to try to grow our event portfolio and as much as we can.
Yeah. How do you set goals for you and your team to achieve these big goals that you have? And even like you're saying, just continue to build your portfolio from a president and leader perspective. How are you setting those goals? How do you go about it? And how do you get your team to be a part?
You know, back to the beginning of this conversation, and again, accountants are one of the most important jobs in the world. So I don't mean any disrespect, but
Yeah.
when you start your career and you end up being in sort of advertising sales, right? You have to
Hmm.
you're on a performance basis in terms of making money,
Mm.
right? And commissions and so forth and being recognized. So So you're always you always have that drive to keep going when you own your own business, no matter what it is, including an accounting firm, right? You need to, manage your people, grow your business. You want to grow your business, right? So we don't have a moment to not always think about the future and how are we going to grow, what is the next, what is the next opportunity. We also have again, back based on our background of sponsorship sales and sort of our concept of 360, where we can just be a hired entity for one thing, or we can do the whole thing turnkey for you, right? Whether it's branding, promotions, giveaways, advertising, marketing. We never wanted to be a traditional firm. We wanted to have this non-traditional aspect, and we really found our mark there. So I think it's important to just be able to, offer all of that. And in terms of our goals, we want to have the event in front of us. We want to execute as flawlessly and perfect as possible, make the attendees happy, make our clients happy, or if it's our own
Mhm.
event, make ourselves, proud. But continue to find those opportunities in the next creative thing that we can, present out there.
Yeah, I love that so much. Before we get into some fun rapid questions, which are some of my favorite, what are some things that you want our listeners to know about running a business like yours and leading a team like you have?
I don't think it's much different than any other entrepreneur, right? You have to wear all the hats. I don't have four departments, HR, and I have an IT person who's been with me for a while now who's terrific. But we don't have a department, so you're in tons of employees. So it's a lot of people say, you don't, when if someone's in a career and they look at you or so forth, they say, oh, it just must be amazing to own your own company. It is, and it's why we do it. But it doesn't mean it has lots of challenges. It doesn't have lots of challenges. It does, right? So you have to be strong. You have to be resilient. You have to work hard, and many of those things that you got to do in a lot of realms, whatever you're doing. But as an entrepreneur, you just can't let your foot off the gas, in my opinion.
Yeah,
You got to stay on it as much as you can.
yeah, I agree. I love that. Well, I'm ready to get into some fun rapid fire questions. What do you say?
Uh-oh.
It'll be easy. They're fun. All right.
Sure.
What would you say, Michael, is the key to success for you?
Drive and passion. Drive and passion.
Yeah, that's good. All right, this is a fun one. Book or podcast? What are you reading or listening to these days?
I'm more of a podcast
Hmm.
person, but I'm reading Blue Fishing. I read it several years ago, and The Art of Making Things Happen, and I sort of refound it again and getting back into it. And one of my clients sent me a book recently. We do a lot of book orders for our celebrity chefs and so forth for autographs and things like that. So the folks sent me it's called This is Strategy, Make Better Plans. So I'm starting to dive into those two again.
Yeah. I think I'm going to have to figure out how to get to one of your events. You keep saying celebrity chef and I love food. So I'm going to have to figure that out somehow.
It's a common denominator, right? Who doesn't like great food and great beverages and some
I know.
entertainment?
I know. It's the best. All right. This is a fun one. If you had a little bit of magic dust, excuse me, and could sprinkle it anywhere in your business, where would you sprinkle it?
If I asked my team, they would say, probably, more to do with the team and organization maybe. But if you're asking me, I would say, we can always take care of that, but we want to make sure that the funnel is full as far as new opportunities and new business. So I would like to sprinkle a lot of magic dust on more opportunities because it's never going to be enough.
Yeah, I hear that. Yeah. Before we get to the final question of the day, share with everyone how they can find you, connect with you, or even maybe hire you.
Certainly. Well, 360mandy.com. So it's marketing and events, MANDE.com, is a good focal point, but we're on all the social items, LinkedIn, whether it's
Yeah.
myself, Michael Guinan, or 360 on all the social platforms.
Awesome. All right. Final question of the day, which is one of my favorites. And I love ending the show with this question. And that's, Michael, what's inspiring you today?
It's inspiring me today. I know I shared a conversation before we got started about my daughter. So my family, my kids are always inspiring me,
Mm.
um, first and foremost. And then, not to overstate it, but again, I just was reminded this past weekend at a festival we did. restaurant takeovers with a chef, and I was reminded by the impact that we're having on
Mm.
people, and in delivering that experiential moment where not just one, but multiple people would pull aside and say, "You have no idea the impact, you had on me, so and so chef, et cetera, during a time of health issues or whatever it was, where I would just enjoy the entertainment, listen to your recipes and your cooking, and
Yeah.
just dive into that. Whether it was that or them inspiring their children to get
Hmm.
into the culinary space and learn to cook and maybe aspire to be a chef. The impact that we have is inspiring. It honestly is, and I don't forget those moments that when we have that happen.
Yeah, I love that answer. It's really good. And yeah, I love the just I saw your passion like you mentioned earlier before we hit record, just the love you have for your family, which probably drives your whole why behind your business in itself.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
undoubtedly, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, this was a great conversation. You're a gem to talk to. And again, I need to get up there and do some events and have some good food and wine for sure. So I just really want to encourage everyone to maybe connect with Michael on LinkedIn, look at his website and see if there's an opportunity to work together, and just really save the show because he really had some good points about team and just how much passion can really help pursue and leave a bigger legacy for your business. So don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss a notification every time a new show drops, just like this one. And thanks to everyone for joining us today. But obviously, Michael, thank you specifically for joining us. It was a pleasure.
Same here. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
All right. Till you next time. Bye bye.
Bye bye.